Hey, friend. Welcome to our Best of Summer series here on the Not Your Average Autism Mom podcast. So, summer looks a little different around here because let's be honest, routines change, schedules get messy, kids are home more, therapies shift, and life can feel a little extra full this time of year. So, instead of adding more to your plate, I wanted to give you a chance to revisit some of our most impactful, most downloaded, and most shared episodes from the past several years. These are the conversations that really resonated with moms in our community, the ones that made you feel seen and understood, supported, and a little less alone on this parenting journey that none of us planned. So, whether this is your first time hearing this episode, or maybe you're listening again from a completely different season of life and parenting perspective, I hope it gives you exactly what you need today. And don't forget, there are over 270 episodes waiting for you in our podcast library. So summer is the perfect time to go back and binge listen and catch up on episodes that you might have missed or revisit ones that hit home for you before. They are in no particular order, so just scroll through and find episodes that resonate with you where you are right now. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's jump into this week's Best of Summer episode. Episode 252, Stranger Danger, Autism, and Online Risks, when safety isn't simple. Well, hey there, friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Not Your Average Autism Mom podcast. I am your host, Shannon Urquiola, and I am so glad you are here with me today. Before we get into today's topic, I just want to say Happy New Year. I hope that you and your family were able to enjoy the holidays in whatever way felt right for you. This is our very first episode of 2026. And I want you to know how much I'm looking forward to spending time with you every week this year. Just having real, honest conversations about things that matter to you and impact your everyday life raising autistic children, because that's what we do here. And today's episode is such a good example of why this podcast exists, because it came directly from one of our followers. So I want to take a minute to give a shout out to Valencia Shannon, who asked such a great question on our Facebook page recently. She actually said, good morning, Jordan and Mom. Can I ask you a question? How do you teach stranger danger to autistic kids? Well, Valencia, thank you for asking that, because you're right. This is a very important topic and one that doesn't come with just a simple answer. And I also want to just kind of start out by saying, in case you're new here, I really try every week to keep our episodes at 20 minutes or less, because I know that your time is valuable and it's limited, to be honest. Sometimes a topic might go a little bit longer. So I just want you to know this episode may go a little bit longer. I'm terrible at determining time on episodes. I actually just, I do the episode without taking that into consideration. So I just want to let you know it might go a little bit over 20 minutes on this topic. But the truth is, teaching stranger danger to our kids looks very different when you're parenting autistic children. And before we dive in, I want to invite you, all of our listeners and moms inside our membership, to keep sharing what's going on in your world and what you want to hear more of. You can comment on an episode, you can email us or tag us on social media, or like Valencia did, you can put a comment on and tag us in that about things that you'd like me to talk about on the podcast this year. This podcast is shaped by you. And I want to make sure that we're talking about what you actually need. I'm different from other podcasts in the autism space because I don't have guests on our episodes, because truthfully, there are many other podcasts out there that have other parents telling their stories or other guests on there. And I reserve our guest host for our membership instead of here on the podcast. So today, that's what we're talking about, how to teach safety without fear. Because our goal isn't to make our kids scared of people or the world. It's to help them understand boundaries and recognize when something doesn't feel safe and know exactly what to do if that happens. And stranger danger looks different in autism families. Most of us grew up with simple rules. Don't talk to strangers. Don't take candy. Never go anywhere with someone you don't know. And while all those rules come from a good place, they don't usually translate well for our autistic kids because autism changes how they process and understand the social part of safety. Many of our kids take language very literally. They struggle with abstract concepts like intent. They miss social cues like tone or body language or can't identify manipulation. And many of them don't experience fear the way that neurotypical kids do. So when we say don't talk to strangers, they may think that means never, not even saying hello to the cashier at Publix or their new teacher on the first day of school. Or maybe your child is very trusting and they might not see the danger at all because, in their mind, if someone is smiling or friendly, that must mean they're safe. And other kids might not pick up on the nonverbal cues like tone or voice or body language or just that gut feeling that, that something is off. And sometimes when we try to teach safety through fear, it can backfire, creating anxiety instead of awareness. When we say things like bad people might take you, it can actually create more anxiety for some of our kids. So instead of stranger danger, I like to think of it as safe versus unsafe situations. And just that small shift can help you focus on teaching skills instead of instilling fear. So I want to start, talking about ways that you can teach safety without fear. And this is where I'm going to get practical because I want you to have some practical things that you can start doing right away. The first thing is you can use visuals and social stories. Many autistic kids learn best visually. So use pictures, use simple stories, use repetition. Show them what safe looks like and what unsafe looks like. Practice what to do, not just what not to do. You can make a simple visual board, pictures of people they know and trust, like family members, teachers, administrators, therapists, and then some general pictures of strangers like the UPS driver, someone at a store, or a neighbor that they've never met. And then use simple stories or scripts. Like if someone you don't know asks you to come with them, you say no, thank you, and you find mom or dad. Keep it consistent, short, and very clear. This way, you're teaching with understanding, not fear. And I also think that it's important to define safe adults, right? Instead of don't talk to strangers, teach them who they can talk to. We want them to know if they ever need help, it's okay to talk to a police officer, a security guard, a store employee, or a teacher or administrator. You can even create what I call a safe circle. So you could draw a few circles on a piece of paper, and in the center area are, your child's trusted adults, parents, grandparents, siblings, caregivers. The next circle might include, their bus drivers, teachers, therapists. And outside of that are people we don't know yet. Talk about what's okay and what's not okay in each circle. Things like hugging, sharing information, going somewhere together, because that gives them structure and clear rules that they can remember. Clear rules reduce confusion. And then you can role play real situations. And this is a big one. And honestly, you know what? You can make it fun. Role play situations that your child might encounter. You might say, I'm someone at the park who says, "Hey, I lost my puppy. Can you help me find it?" What do you do? And then you let them practice saying no while they're walking away and finding you. And then just keep practicing different versions, like someone asking for directions, someone offering them candy, or pretending to know you or their sibling. And if your child struggles with communication, practice what their response would look like. Maybe holding up a card that says, "I need my mom," or using a specific button on their AAC device if your child is nonverbal, or going to get a designated safe person. Practice walking away, practice finding a safe adult. The more you practice, the more automatic those responses become. And repetition builds muscle memory. And that matters when stress kicks in. You need that muscle memory. We want them to have that muscle memory. The next thing is create a safety plan. So this can be a physical checklist, right? You can laminate it or put it on their tablet or visual schedule. And it can say things like, if I feel scared or unsure, I say no. I leave the area. I find a safe adult. You can use visuals for each step. Maybe a red stop sign or walking feet and a picture of mom or dad, and make it real by connecting it to places that they often go: the library, the park, the grocery store, whatever that looks like for you and your family. Another thing is practice public separation. And this one is especially important for those of us who've ever experienced that moment of panic when your child wanders off, whether that's in a store or a parking lot or an amusement park. Practice what to do if that happens. Show them how to find an employee, how to describe you, or have them carry an ID card with their name and your phone number and emergency contact info. If they're older, practice staying in one location. If they have a phone, you can practice them calling you. If they're younger or non-speaking, make sure they always have identification on them in a sensory friendly way, like a bracelet or a air tag or a keychain that they will actually tolerate, because that's so important. And I want to talk about the balance, right? Balancing safety and confidence, because I know as moms, it's easy to slip into that anxious what if thinking. And many of you are overthinkers. You can't bubble wrap the world. And honestly, you don't want your child to live afraid of people. The goal is to help them feel confident in their ability to navigate the world, not terrified of every stranger that they see. So, as you teach this, it's important that you pay attention to your tone. Keep it calm and matter of fact. If you lead with fear, they'll pick up on that. If you lead with confidence, they'll feel that too. And celebrate progress, even those small wins. If your child remembered to walk away instead of freezing up, that's huge. If they use their words or their AAC device and ask for help, celebrate that. And I want to slow this part down a bit, because this is where real learning happens. This is where things get very real, because talking about safety in theory is one thing, but teaching it in real life situations is where it will actually stick. And I want to say this clearly. Many of our kids do not pause and think, is this safe? They act first. And that's not being disobedient, that's neurology. And if you're listening to this thinking, my child would never, please know that many of our kids don't act from fear the way neurotypical kids might. A lot of our kids struggle with impulse control, cause and effect, and danger awareness. And that doesn't magically disappear as they get older. Trust me, Jordan is 29 years old now. And to this day, it is still written into his ISP that he must always be within eyesight of his providers wherever they are, because he has very little fear and struggles with impulse control. He doesn't ever pause and think, is this safe? If something catches his attention, his body moves before his brain has time to process. He's on the way. And that's not immaturity, that's neurology. So I want to walk you through some scenarios, and I want you to imagine your child in each one of them. Let's talk about the friendly stranger at the park. This is one of the most common and one of the trickiest. Someone at the park, grocery store, library says something like, "Hi, what's your name?" Or, "You're so cute. Are you here with your parents?" Or, "Hi, buddy, what's your name?" Now, here's the thing. The person may not be dangerous, but your child doesn't know how to assess that. And we don't want them practicing that skill in the moment. So instead of teaching judgment, we teach rules and scripts. You might practice with, saying, if someone talks to you and I'm not right next to you, you don't answer questions. You can wave, you can say, "I need to go get my mom." For some kids, even not responding at all and walking away is the safest option, and that's okay. You could practice movement instead of conversation. Teach them to turn their body and walk towards you. No explaining, no politeness lesson, just safety. Or let's talk about, the one, "Your mom sent me," or "I know your family." This one is really important too, especially for kids who are more verbal or socially motivated. This is where a secret or safe word can be incredibly helpful for, many of our higher level kids. And here's how it works. You choose a word or phrase that only your family knows, not a common word, not your family pet name, not something that your child might guess. You practice it like this. If someone ever says, "I sent them to pick you up," or they say that they know me, you ask them for the secret word. If they don't know it, you walk away and you find a safe adult. And you can role play with this. What if someone says, "Your mom asked me to come get you"? What do you say? What if they don't know the word? This gives your child a concrete step instead of relying on intuition, which many of our kids don't have access to in the same way. Now, let's go back to getting lost or separated in public, because this is one every parent fears, especially if you have an eloper or a runner. Instead of just hoping that it never happens, you practice it. Teach your child. Stay in one place if you're separated. Find a store employee, a security guard, a police officer, a mom with the other kids. Tell them you need help. If your child is non-speaking or anxious, make sure they have identification. Jordan always has required identification, because if he's overwhelmed, his communication shuts down. He doesn't have words, or because of his significant stutter, someone who doesn't know him or isn't around him a lot wouldn't be able to understand him if he did try to use his words in one of those moments where he is under stress. And I'll be honest, even now at 29, he still, like I said earlier, requires constant supervision, because his impulse control plus his lack of fear creates a real risk. And I want you to know this isn't about independence being taken away. It's about their support matching their need. Practice what you do if you get separated. Find a cashier or a mom with kids. Show them your I need help card or your bracelet. And again, you can even turn this into a fun game at Target one day, a low stress way to build their confidence. Now, I can't do this episode without talking about online strangers, online gaming, and social platforms, because this is a big one. And I'm going to talk about online safety, and I want to do this carefully and honestly and compassionately. If your child is gaming or using YouTube or Minecraft, you absolutely must talk about online strangers. Online gaming is one of the most dangerous spaces for our kids because communication is built in: chat, voice, private messages. And many of our kids, especially our teens and young adults, crave connection. They want friends. They want to belong. They want to be seen, included, and predators know that. These predators are good at what they do. They are patient. They build trust slowly. They pretend to be friends. They will mirror their interests. And our kids often don't have the ability to recognize manipulation, grooming, or danger, especially when that attention feels good to them. That's what they want. And this is where sextortion comes in. And yes, we need to say the word out loud. This is happening every single day. It's happening in your community, and children across this country are killing themselves because of it. Yes, you heard me. They are committing suicide because they ultimately think that their life is ruined. Sextortion happens when someone gains a child's trust online, encourages sharing photos or private information, and then threatens to expose them unless they comply. Usually it includes money, and most kids don't know where they're going to get that $300 without telling their parents what they did. Listen, friends, the truth is all of your children's online activity must be monitored by you. Not some of it, not I trust them, all of it. And I know how exhausting that sounds. I know how much time and energy that takes. I know you already feel stretched thin. I get it. But your kids are uniquely vulnerable here. Truthfully, for this exact reason, this is why Jordan no longer has any handheld electronics, no gaming systems, no devices where he can communicate with others, because I decided it was too much of a risk for his safety. And I wasn't willing to commit to what it would take to monitor it all. He is sneaky and he is very fast. So we realized that it was too much of a risk for him. That's one of the reasons he no longer has access to those things. He is vulnerable. And honestly, I'm sure your children are too. So he has a Kindle that he can read on. He can watch YouTube on the TV with supervision. He has no phone. He has no messaging, no chat, no communication of any kind. And that decision wasn't about punishment, it was about safety. And I want you to hear this. Choosing safety over access does not make you a bad parent, it makes you a protective one. They need to know that anyone asking for their name, what school they go to, asking for pictures or to meet up with them, that is an unsafe person and situation. You can say, use, a 3-step plan: say no, leave the game, site, or chat, and immediately tell you or another safe adult immediately. And I just can't emphasize how much how very important that is. It's when your kids begin gaming and interacting online, we're throwing them into a whole world that isn't safe. So I want to talk a little bit more about impulse control and no fear responses. So some of our kids, like I said, don't hesitate, right? They don't freeze, they act. Jordan is one of them. If something interests him, a door, a person, an object, he moves towards it. That's why, like I said, even as an adult, he must always be within eyesight of his staff. This is why we don't rely on he should know better. We rely on structure, supervision, and prevention. For kids like this, the environment matters. Supervision matters. Removing access to unsafe situations matter. Independence isn't measured by how much we remove support. It's measured by how safely we provide the right level of support. So here's what I want you to take away from this. You are not being dramatic. You are not overreacting. You are not failing because your child needs more supervision. You are responding to real risks with real protection. You have to teach safety through practice, through scripts, through visuals, through secret words, through supervision, and ongoing conversations. You have to have ongoing conversations because not only do they continue to get older and grow more inquisitive, the risks continue to grow and develop too. And for my moms in our private membership, there are 2 parent resource downloads that go with this episode just for you, available in your portal and in the resource section of the village to support you with this. There's an online safety and gaming checklist and another download that includes other safety information through an autism lens. So, I'm glad you're with me on this. And Valencia, thank you again for sparking today's conversation. This is one of those that every parent worries about, but rarely feels totally confident in. Here's what I want you to remember. You don't have to teach it perfectly. You just have to teach it consistently. Your child doesn't need to fear the world. They need to learn to understand their world. And you are the best person to help them do that. Safety skills take time, repetition, patience. Start small, build slowly, start where your child is, and keep practicing. And know this, you are doing enough. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. And please, if you found this episode helpful, I would love for you to share it with another mom who's, navigating a similar journey. And please, if you haven't yet, it would mean the world to me if you would take a second to leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcast. Those reviews help more moms just like you find us and remind them that they are not alone in this. And if you're needing more than just a weekly podcast, if you're ready for community and coaching and connection with other moms who get it, I invite you to come join us inside the Not Your Average Autism Mom private membership. You'll find everything about it at notyouraverageautismmom.com. And until next week, remember, above all, you, mama, are doing amazing at this mom thing.